If you're looking to figure out what your niche is in real estate, stay tuned because in this episode of the Prime People podcast, we dig into it with Michele Bellisari on how she got into probates, working on downsizing with seniors, and gives you all of her secrets. If you're new to this channel, welcome. This is the channel where we help entrepreneurs and real estate agents with media, branding, productivity, and just all the secrets to help you build a better business. I'm your host, Justin Conoco, one of the owners of Prime Real Estate and Prime Media Productions. We literally built this business from the ground up using everything you learn on this channel. We'll introduce you to insane people like Ryan Serhant, Scott McGilvery, and so many other amazing guests that have been on this channel. People like Dustin Brome, Chelsea Pites, the broke agent. It goes on and on and on. If that sounds like it would interest you, make sure you hit that subscription and notification button and share this with somebody that you think wants to learn about the things we just spoke about. Let's not waste any more time, though. Let's get right into the episode. Michele, being somebody that's involved in a lot of lawsuits and litigation, you have a very different approach when it comes to real estate than most people, because stuff that rattle the average person may not rattle Michele. You were telling me a story off channel about how different you look at the real estate business. Why don't we dig in first before we dig into all your social media and community building, all that fun stuff? How did you find yourself working in probates and that side of the business? It's not typical.
No, it's not. And thank you for having me on today. I'm so excited to be here. It's kind of like full circle for me. Um, so when the housing market crashed in 2008, it kind of was a slow crash in the sense that um, you didn't really know what was going on. And then when you kind of figured out what was going on, those realtors that kind of got it right away and went in short sales and foreclosures and stuff like that did really well. A lot of people didn't pivot fast. I was one of them. And in 2010, my husband had an accident, and so he couldn't work for a good year and a half. And I was working with buyers, which I love my buyers. And I was a first time home buyer niche specialist. And I got a phone call one day from my favorite lender, who I'm still good friends with, who we do a lot of business together. She goes, I don't think you should work with buyers for a while. And I said, yeah, I don't think so either. Because I'd gotten snippy with this buyer, which isn't me, but I was under a lot of pressure with my husband having an accident. My house had gone into foreclosure, just like so many other people. I was exhausted. I was having a health issue at the same time, had a kid in high school, kid in college, and single income for the most part. And I was like, no, you're right. And then a day later, another friend of mine who is a coach with a big coaching company called me and said, I think you need to like take you know, your feet off the gas with buyers. And I said, yeah, I think you're right. So ironically, I went to some event. It was a freebie that Mike Ferry was doing, not
Oh,
Tom,
wow. Yeah,
Mike.
yeah. Oh,
Okay. The OG,
the
right?
OG. Yeah, that's wild.
And it was ironically, it was my old broker who I left and went to Remax, and I got a free ticket. And I went down to South Beach in Miami. I'm in Boca, so it's about an hour drive. Went back and forth to the Mike Ferry Superstar event. And he talked all about listings. And I came home on a Thursday. I said, I'm not going back down on Friday. I don't have enough money to drive back down there. And I said, I'm going to focus on a listing niche. And I thought I could do probate. Probate sounds good because I dealt with it with my parents who passed away at 57 and 61. And I'd had some experience with it. I knew how to clean houses because I was cleaning houses to make ends meet and working a marketing job and doing real estate. And I was like, I think if I niche down, which is my background, pharmaceutical sales, consumer health, niche brands,
Mhm.
well-known brands like Lubriderm, Tux, Listerine, Schick. I mean, that's what I sold for years.
Mhm.
I was like, I can do this. And I studied it and I went, this is me. I love the networking. I like being very specific. I like being a specialist. I like being a go-to. I like helping people. And I can own this. And I remember having Allie Google attorneys so I could build an attorney list. And I just started putting it out there, like from soup to nuts, I could help attorneys with the probate from the transactional side, but I could also help with getting the house cleaned out, and
Sure.
an estate sale and all that. And that's how I got into probate, which then led to it's like kissing cousin, which is seniors that downsize.
Hmm.
They're very similar, similar business model, um, families that need help and transitions, right? But also, I needed to have niches that were not tied to the economy
Hmm.
because that crap that happened in '08, which is not happening now, okay, it's a shift. But what happened back then was devastating to
Hmm.
so many people. I was just talking to an agent today at Women's Council who said, so I heard somebody, realtors, foreclosures. And I turned around and went, and she goes, what? I go, we're not going to have that. We might have some, but it's not going to be like it was.
Hmm.
I said, the banks are willing to cooperate. They don't want the houses, been there, done that. If we were going to see that, we would have seen that during the pandemic because a
For
lot of
sure.
people, including myself, paused my mortgage payment for a few months. Banks were fine with that. They made it super easy. They made it like, no problem. We're not dinging your credit. And I said, that's not going to happen. And honestly, and I said this on Clubhouse, which is where you and I reconnected. I said one day, I don't know if you're in the room, I said, I think an agent who is presented with a foreclosure needs to understand if that person can save their home.
Hmm.
Most people have a lot of equity in their home. Be the realtor that says, I don't want your listing. Let's figure out how you can stay in your house. And that's a direct result of knowing that feeling. Like it's a horrible feeling to have that hanging over your head or have it happen to you. And there's no reason in most cases why someone couldn't stay in their home. The banks don't want your house. So realtors can, really be like, do a solid there and say, I don't want your house, especially if there's equity in it. Let's figure out how you can stay in it, you know?
Well, that would go such a long way in building that agent's referral business and goodwill. The industry, or sorry, the consumers think we're all the same. They think we're vampires and we're just predatory. But I know there's people like you out there that truly do care, and you've been through it yourself. Like
Yeah.
how settling is that for somebody out there saying, oh, this isn't just an agent that's trying to get a sign on my lawn and trying to convince me to sign a piece of paper so they can buy my house at
Right.
undervalued cost. And I do think you're correct in the assumption of where we're going with the market. And I think their agents can be the first line of defense and tell people that they are there to help them. But I think they have to have the skill set. So, I mean, you identified a niche right out of the gate. And I think that's so smart because agents come into this business. They want to be everything to everybody. I want to get into luxury. I want to
Yeah.
do farms, new development, investment properties. And I know a lot of the killers out there are very good at one thing and maybe start layering in other things. Like you said, probate, seniors that downsize, are there a natural progression, right? Like those two
Right.
things are going to happen in tandem many times or within a family unit and circle. And you want to become the person that the lawyer doesn't have to think about. The lawyer just says, oh, Michele can handle that. I don't have to worry
Yeah.
about anything. They'll get the moving company, the cleaners, all these things. Where did you do your research though to figure out what you needed to learn? Because people can pick a niche, but a
Yeah.
lot of times they don't know where to go for the
They don't know where
education
to
piece of it.
go. So it was a long time ago. I found it's like this little course, like in a book, and it was like 99 bucks. And I was like, oh, okay, I got this. I get this. And it really was great because I learned how to find the leads. I learned how to, really understand the process. The marketing I had down, the branding I had down. I've always had that. The sales I've had down. It was more about, oh, that. Oh, I could list that. Oh, that's how long it takes. Okay, and I remember it was like a course that was based on California probate, which is vastly different than Florida probate. So I
Did
learned
you
how to,
know that when you started learning it, or did you just assume they were all the same?
so I was like, okay,
Yeah,
but probate is probate, and people, pass away every day, and in any given county in the United States, there's probate cases.
yeah,
And I've gotten pretty astute with it. And so in 2020, when I was really sick with COVID and couldn't leave my house because I couldn't get a negative test, I finally sat down and did what I said I was going to do, which is I did a course.
that's
And
awesome.
so I did that in 2020 and just finishing revamping, like updating it because I did it like seat of the pants, live, chopped it up, threw it in some cheap platform and said, here you go. If you want to learn probate, here you go. But now it's a little more, it's got a little icing on it and it looks a little nicer.
Well, I'll encourage anybody out there to do the same thing and reach out to you as well. I think that was one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you on. We've been friends for so long. We'll get into that history in a minute. But I remember when I got into agricultural properties, people look at me and they just think, oh, Justin just sells really big houses or lakefronts. And I tell people, like, I run to the $100,000 or $200,000 listings. I run to the first time home buyers. And I remember my family, they're in the automotive business, but they sell trucks to farmers. So we know of more farmers than almost anybody you can
Yeah.
imagine. And it's a business that I did from the jump when I got into it. But I remember when I got into farms, the type of soil, is it tiled, is it non-tiled, acreage versus non-acreage, where is it located, what can be farmed, like the agricultural zonings and tiers of it. It was very overwhelming. But as I went down that path and I got better and better at it, I naturally became somebody who would just call in a whim and just ask my opinion. What's happening now? What's it price per acre? What's happening in this area? And I would do conversation after conversation without expecting business. And then I would get a 400-acre farm or a 100-acre farm request out of nowhere. Was it similar with you working with lawyers? Like, did you have to build the relationship first before the deals started coming?
Yeah, I did. And I tried to build it quickly. I do believe you can build relationships fairly quickly, but you have to do certain things. I started my own networking group. I invited attorneys and people in the industry, like move managers and financial planners and anything that might be related to that. I started my own networking group. I was the only realtor. No realtors were invited. And if I saw them on the guest list, I booted them. And I'm still like that today. I have a local group. I'm the realtor.
Yeah.
I don't want any other realtors in the group.
How many people are in a local group? Like, how many people would you have in that network?
I've got like over 1,000 in one of my groups. And that's under my brand Soboka. So I can drop my real estate stuff in there and my Soboka branded information in there about things to do, places to go, events happening, things that I'm hosting and whatnot. So I kind of wear two hats, but I think the best thing to do is to get known. Mark Schaefer, who's a great author, has a book called Known. I think he just came out with a new book, something about brand. I remember listening to his book on a flight. I like Audible.
I'm going to buy you a book by the end of this episode. That's something I do for all my guests. So I'm picking my brain, but I'm taking notes. So if people see me looking down,
has a new book out. So I just saw him on my Facebook page.
That's amazing. Yeah, I just bought I actually had Greenspan on last week, and I bought him a copy of Big Money Energy. I will think of a good one for you by the time we're done.
That's a good book. By the way, Greenspan and I have a thread. So that's funny. So, because can we talk about the history just for a minute?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, I don't think people have any context to how well we actually know each other.
I'll let you start and then I'll jump in with Greenspan because it's funny.
This was my kind of recollection of it. I remember Gary Vee back in, I don't know, maybe 2014 was talking about Snapchat, right? Gary Vee has always been somebody I watch because he knows where the puck is going. He talked about TikTok before TikTok popped off and so on and so forth. He's like, everybody get on Snapchat. It's a game changer. So we jumped on Snapchat and I came across a bunch of other characters, which was Chelsea Pites, you, Dustin Brome, Bucky Beeman. I think David Greenspan was there, Shannon Milligan. I'm going to forget a whole bunch of people, but
Ricky Gonzalez.
Yeah, Ricky Gonzalez. There was a pile of us, right? And I remember it was stacked. Actually, there's still a Facebook group called the Snap Pack, which was then formed. And it was really a whole bunch of people just like us that were doing things that we were doing in their own little worlds. And it was cool because we'd be motivated seeing each other do things. Now we all maintained friendships, some got closer than others. And over the years, it was funny because Clubhouse popped off during COVID. I came on there and, all of a sudden all this growth happened, but it was like me, you, Shannon Milligan, and a whole bunch of people that I knew from the Clubhouse days that were seeing each other on a regular basis. And it's funny because we've never met. Yet I sent you a referral this week. Like if you're looking in Florida, I will send you down to see Michelle. Like that's how close friends we are, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah. But the other thing that a lot of people don't know is I moved to Boca Raton from London, Ontario in 1978. So I went to school in London from, I don't know, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th grade. So I went to Stony Brook and then I went to A.B. Lucas and then we moved here in 78. So I was in London And Justin's in London. So it was just like, oh my God. So Greenspan, this is really interesting. So during the pandemic, we connected too. And I don't know how it came up, but he goes, I said, oh, um, I have family in Toronto. And he goes, who? And I go, Saul Corman. He goes, no. I go, yeah, that's my uncle. He goes, I sit next to him in Temple. I said, whoa, that is so funny. I said, are you kidding? He goes, no, I go to Corey's Menswear all the time. I love it. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. I mean, we are in such a small world that it's just interesting how things overlap and whatnot. And it's nice because it kind of, it gives us a history, which a lot of agents don't have that. They go along in their careers, but they don't have this kind of wild history that we've had because of social media, which I think is the good piece of social media.
Well, I think the big difference is the people that I've seen last have always been there for the community and they give as much as they take. Like you've given entire breakdowns on how you built your email newsletter list, how you built your YouTube videos. And we do very different things, but I've
Mhm.
taken notes and tips from how you do things. And I come back and I want to bring more food to the table and kind of show you how I'm doing stuff
Yeah.
without any direct benefit from my own. And I think we've seen people that come to the table, take a whole bunch of food and leave that don't end up with the same type of relationships. I think it's the same thing when you talk about building relationships with lawyers, builders, clients.
Yeah.
Ultimately, people will see what your intent is in the long run. And if your personality changes, if all of a sudden you're not doing business with them too, right?
Yeah. And I'm a big believer in farming relationships versus a neighborhood. That's just my style. I've never farmed a neighborhood. I've tried a few times over my long career and I'm like, oh, it's not for me. But I do love to connect with people and I love to have conversations. I want to know about your business. How can I help you? Where are you going with it? I'm very astute when it comes to social media. So I usually can give a little tip or a strategy on a branding idea for a business or what they might want to do for social media to be more exposed to the consumer because a lot of people that we meet don't know how to do that. And we take it for granted. We're all kind of savvy with it. And yet we can sit on Clubhouse and hear someone who's so much savvier. And I just sit back, I'm like, oh, I need to put that in Google
Mhm.
Docs today so I don't forget it.
And I think the big thing too is people like yourself and other people I respect is their egos aren't big enough that they can't listen to somebody else, even though you've had some success with what you've done. You're always looking for, well, what else can I try? What else can I taste?
Oh, yeah.
What do I like? What do I not like? You said something super interesting. You tried the farming thing, you didn't like it, but you farm relationships. Knowing you like I do, I know that you're somebody that enjoys her time off. You quality of life is super important to you. How do you continually farm relationships, or what advice would you give to a new agent on how to farm relationships and still maintain sanity and not treat them like a line on a spreadsheet, if that makes sense?
Well, it's so interesting because recently uh, we got a new president in our company, Sharon Shrivatsa,
Yeah, I
who
saw
is
that.
fantastic. And he said something very interesting yesterday, which was sitting on the phone isn't necessarily for everyone. You know, making phone calls like 2, 3 hours a day, it's not for everyone. However, you can break it down. You can make a call, you can text. I have a little graphic that I put together thanks to Shannon Milligan for the idea, which was I have a Starbucks barcode. I have four different ones that I did in Canva. One's for a seller, one's for a buyer, one's for a agent to agent, and one is for something else. And so I will send those out just because, and they're like, have a coffee on me. I have it already in my text replacement. I hit Starbucks and it autofills it and I send it over and I'm like, have a hot chocolate or coffee on me,
Yeah, that's awesome.
$5 or something. I think I sent you one, but you don't have a Starbucks near you.
I got
Um,
Starbucks everywhere. Hey, London is fully
you better
developed
go
now.
back and scroll through your text messages, sir.
I probably didn't even see it. I got too many text messages, but
I
I
will
will
find it
check.
and
Thank you.
resend it to you. But
I appreciate that.
I will tell you, so the one for agents is also a QR code to get on my referral map. So they can scan it and get on my referral map, and my virtual assistant loads that up for me. So I don't have to mess around with that. But I think there's lots of little ways, especially if you're on a shoestring budget or you're a solo agent, to create relationships and stay in front of people where it's cost effective. Volunteering is a great way to build relationships. I talk about this in my course, which is one of the ways you can meet some of the people that you want to meet, no matter what niche you're in. Say you want to like do agricultural, or you want to focus on churches, or maybe you truly don't want to list and you want to work with buyers. So you want to work with buyer niches. Maybe that's first responders. Volunteer at nonprofit events that align with whatever that is. So I like you could belong. You might not be able to afford to belong to Rotary, but they have events where they are looking for volunteers. We have a lot of things go on here in Boca. It's a highly philanthropic community. Half the people I know that go buy a table. A quarter of the people that go are guests at that table or buying a solo ticket. And then another quarter of the people are volunteers so they can attend the events. Well, you're still networking with the same people. So does it really matter? So if you're very focused on a niche, start looking at some of the nonprofits where you can volunteer and give back your time. And then you'll be in the proximity to power, the proximity to the people that you want to network with. Okay. So I'm a big believer in aligning whatever your niches are with nonprofits. So for example, with probate, you can align it with hospice. Okay. Down here, it's now a lot of them are Trust Bridge. If you're working with seniors, align yourself with the Alzheimer's Association. Okay. Parkinson's, whatever it is, because that seems to be one of the biggest reasons seniors are downsizing into assisted living is they can't live alone anymore. So support the services that are supporting your clients. That's a big one. Habitat's a great one right across the board because they work with families that need homes. Another great one in the United States, I don't know about Canada. I know, yes, by the way, I am Canadian. You could create a build with Habitat, which works, create a build with Habitat. But the other one is Family Promise. Family Promise works with homeless families. And what they do is they help families transition back into a home. And there's a lot of ways that you can volunteer. Okay. They work with all of the, churches, mosques, synagogues, whatever, all over the place. A lot of the facilities like that have a house, and they will sometimes utilize that house to let the family stay there for a week at a time. There's all these like moving pieces, right? So there's a lot of ways to network other than your chamber, which I think can get very oversaturated, especially for realtors. And some of the traditional places, start thinking untraditionally about where you want to be, who you want to network, why you want to network, and what your end game is with it.
I think that's so smart. And actually, we've done a build with Habitat for Humanity. Scott McGilvery, the guy I work with, it does them all the time. He's one of their flagship sponsors. A, it was one of the best team building things we ever did.
Yeah.
B, like as you were saying it, I'm taking down notes and I'm like, we need to do another one because I want my daughter to see that and be a part of it. Just from the impact, like everything else aside, seeing that family get the keys in the story when we actually finish delivering that house.
Think their international campaign Women Build is coming up because I'm getting emails on it. And one of the things I've done because of So Boca, my brand, and I do social media influencing, whatever you want to call it, I align with different nonprofits, and I'll get invited to just do social media because they have photographers there, but they don't typically get the short clips and
they don't understand. Actually, YMCA, we're doing another one, a podcast on the 19th.
Oh, cool.
London's has a serious homelessness issue right now, like a lot of other major cities. Yeah. St. Thomas came up with a wicked idea of creating a micro community, so smaller housing. I'm like, this is one of the coolest things I've seen.
That's a great idea.
We're coming to your studio. We're going to shoot this. Like, we have massive exposure on our newsletters and our platforms, more than the news, to be quite frank with you.
Yeah.
I'm like, we'll do it for free. Like, I just want everybody to know about what you're doing. So like, everybody watching this, take a lesson from Michele. You're not going to get a bigger network by sitting in your basement crying and looking at other agents on Instagram, wondering why they're successful and then
Right.
feeling bad about yourself. You can go out and meet people. And these are some great tips I think that you're giving on how to go about and do that.
Well, thank you. And it's for the new agent and also the seasoned, or as I'm starting to
Sure.
call, legacy agent, because I'm a legacy agent, I think, at this point. I hate the
Season.
word midlife. I'm like,
We are not stakes. We are people. So we are
yeah,
legacy agents. We
I'm
can come up with some good
legacy.
language for that. It's a
I know.
branding play.
But yeah, there's a lot of ways that you can really jumpstart your business. And I always say it takes, in my opinion, less than 30 days to reinvent your business. I say that because I know I did that because I had to out of necessity.
Yeah, I love that. So I'm committing right now to looking at what we're doing from a philanthropic perspective and making sure that is super dialed in this year, making time for it. If you're watching this, I'd like you to do the same. Jump in the comments, let us know what you've done, what you are going to do, and please connect with Michele. All of her contact information is going to be in the show notes. If you're looking to relocate to Florida, send me a direct message. I will connect you with Michele personally, and the Queen of Boca Raton will definitely take care of you. I got another question for you though.
Yes.
Going back to networking. So you're at these events now, right?
Yeah.
You're at the Rotary. You are super personable. And do you
Yeah.
just walk up to people and start talking to them? Like, what
All
about
the
those
time.
people that have social anxiety? How would you help them?
Well, the one thing I did learn over the years is if you see two people talking, probably don't approach because it may be a private
Sure.
or intimate conversation. But parties of three, they're go for it.
That's awesome.
And
What do you say when you walk up to somebody you've
when I
never
walk
met
up,
before?
I usually have some sort of quip or something. And like right now, it's great to be able to talk about our weather. So I started off with, "Oh my God, can you believe this fantastic weather? We wait all year for this." And everybody's like, "Oh, I know, it's fantastic. It's 70 degrees out. I can't believe how hot the summer was." And then we just go into like conversations. Usually people ask me about the market. So usually I have something on that says So Boca, and people are like, "What's So Boca?" So it's a bit of a conversation starter. So yeah, I mean, I'm pretty casual about it. Sometimes just like, "Hey, I'm Michelle B. Hashtag So Boca. I'm also a real estate agent here in Boca. What do you do? Tell me about your business." You
Yeah, it's
know?
it's funny when you actively like try not to talk about your business, all roads tend to lead back to real estate because everybody wants to talk about it. What's something that this business has taught you that you didn't expect it to?
Oh my gosh. I would say patience was a big piece for me. Um, Back after the housing market crash and what we went through, and also with real estate transactions, you can't always force everything. And so patience, I think, is something that we as agents, you can learn to be patient. I'm an Aries. We're not naturally patient people. Trust me when I tell you that. But I think you can learn aspects of being patient and understand that the process is the process. You can nudge. It's a nice way to nudge. There's a nice way to have a conversation. And if you're patient enough to get the deal done, you're going to get the deal done.
I think that's great advice. A lot of times, I mean, people call it commission breath
Oh,
here,
so
where
bad.
you can smell it on them. The agent's desperate, and there's an art to it. And I tell that to clients. They'll be like, "Well, follow up with that person." I'm like, "We've got the interest. They want the house. Now's where you have to trust me in terms of I
Be
need to draw them to
patient.
us." Very patient. I'm very impatient. My energy level is like 10,000 sometimes,
Right. Mine
but you
too.
got to step back. Well, I guess what have you done to learn? How did you become more patient over time?
Well, there were some forced issues that made me patient.
Mhm.
I have some family that uh, have gone through sobriety,
Yep.
and I started reading and understanding the elements of Al Anon. And the Serenity Prayer helps me be a little more grounded and patient. I have a lot of faith, and I believe that timing is everything. I will give you an example real estate wise. I have a buyer right now. She's fantastic. It's a referral. She wanted me to write an offer, write an offer, write an offer. And I got everything I needed. And I was talking to the other agent. Other agent already has a couple offers. And I said, "Listen, I'll get this over to you tomorrow. The agent's fine if we get this over tomorrow. By the way, agents, you can set boundaries on timing. All you got to do is ask if it's like, could you hold off until we get our offer over? I'm not doing an offer at 11 o'clock at night,
Yeah.
you know? I'm not my best at 11 o'clock at night. Most people aren't. So anyways, I sent her a message, sent an email, copied her lender, said, this is what I need. Just want to make sure I'm understanding how you want me to write this up because there was going to be a 2-1 buy down, blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
FHA. Haven't done FHA in a while, by the way, but I used to all the time. So not a big deal. But we talked on the phone and I literally said to her, I said, do you really love this house? Because I'm going to tell you what I don't love. She said, I would really appreciate that. And I did. I said, I don't think there's transparency there. There's no seller disclosure, not that it's required here, but I'm not feeling it. Doesn't seem to know when the roof was on. It's just all these little weird things. And I said, you have time, and I'd prefer to see you make an offer less than your max, by the way, because that house also isn't homestead. So the taxes are $3,000 more than most of the other properties. And we've got to factor in the insurance, which has gotten really out of control in Florida. So it could throw off your ratios. If you're too high on price, it could throw it off. Let's add a few more cities. Let's pump the brakes. Like, let's have some patience here. And let's see what else is out there and get our ducks in a row. And she's like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you talked to me that way. I said, I don't want to sell you this house. It's like, if you were my daughter, she's the first time home buyer. Like, I am not feeling it. You're the one who has to feel it, but I'm just telling you, I'm red flag, red flag. It was just a bunch of stuff. She goes, but I said, here's the good news. We've earmarked a great area that you love. So that's good. So that's one. So let's see what else we can find. And I'm going to add to it and we'll tweak stuff. So we did. So that's like the patience piece is like, I could have she would have moved forward if I'd said move forward. I just wasn't comfortable for her.
Yeah. Yeah, I think agents second guess themselves a lot of times. Well, it's not my decision. They got to buy the house, but they're hiring you because you're an expert. Like you just showcased, again, take some notes, people, if you're watching, a couple things you knew about that area just because of your experience about the insurance and the taxes and the homestead and even the disclosure piece, right? Like when you see things that aren't adding up, that comes from experience. So I love this. I think that this really showcases a ton of value. I could probably do this for hours with you, but I will have you on as a repeat guest because you're one of the OGs for sure.
Oh, I love that.
I'm going to get you through the rapid fire questions. Then I'm going to get you out of here because I know you got
rapid fire. Okay. Do I need, I put my lipstick on. Hold on.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
I like doing the rapid fire stuff too because everybody likes short form content. So we'll repurpose a lot of this as short form content, but it all leads back to the long form.
Okay.
What is one of the biggest myths you think about being a real estate agent?
Oh, biggest myth that we are just have so much freaking money. We don't know what to do with. We don't do anything. It's like $1 million listing. It's like selling sunset. Honey, it is about being in gorgeous shoes, Manolo Blahniks, Jimmy Choo's, and it's a handshake deal. That's it. That's the biggest myth.
That's like 9 myths. I said 1, but I get the vibe.
I can't answer.
I totally get it. I love it. How has failure shaped your life?
Oh, failure is what makes us really, I think, stronger. It's not fun when it happens. And if you are a high achiever, which I am, it's really hard. So I would say it's made me more thoughtful. I'm still a little bit of a risk taker, so it hasn't taken the edge off of that as much, which I'm kind of glad about. But I would say it's made me a stronger person and made me a better agent.
Yeah, I think that's a great answer. Ultimately, I mean, I'm one of the most broken people out there, probably more broken than most, but I think getting around other people where you see that it's okay to fail makes you better. And maybe telling the person that you were 20 years ago, the things you know now would be a pretty interesting conversation one day. Now, the flip side of that, what is the greatest lesson that you've learned up to this point?
The greatest lesson in real estate or just in general?
It can be anything you want.
Well, the greatest lesson I've learned was how to be a good mom. And my husband was very pivotal, and his family, they're just that kind of family. And not that my parents weren't good parents. They were just a little different. Like my mom was a very caring person, but I wanted to be a mom in a different manner. And I wanted to really enjoy, like really have fun with my kids. And if you watch any of my social media, Kylie and Allie are just, I just love my girls and they're lovely girls. And I worked really hard at being a good mom first and friend second, because I think that's really important. They understood boundaries too, like they knew I had to work to go on trips and things like that. So that to me is my most important role in life.
Yeah, I think goes a long way. I've heard you talk about your daughter so many times in so many rooms. I know you're the original influencer, but they've blown up online as well too. And it's cool that you guys can kind of share that. I thought of a book recommendation as you were talking. I was like telling the audience what I'm going to get my guests. So I'm going to send you a copy of David Goggins' newest book, Never Finished. Have you read it or heard it yet?
Oh, I haven't. David Goggin, how do I know that name?
So he's that guy who wrote Can't Hurt Me. He was the Navy SEAL. He was like 300 pounds, completely changed his
Oh,
life.
yes.
Can't Hurt Me is a phenomenal book, but he has a new one called Never Finished. And it really talks about how that race is never finished. Do you prefer paperback or audio?
I don't care. Send me what you want.
I like paperback. I'm going to send you an actual book
Yeah,
because
that's
then it'll sit
fine.
on your bookshelf.
Yeah, that would be nice. I've got a little bookshelf here with just a couple, like Chelsea's book is there, and I think Karen Carr's book is there, and just my little tiny one. But
Chelsea's book was right behind me as well. It's actually right behind Chewbacca and Yoda. It's actually right there.
I was in her book. That's why it's there.
I am on page 12 as well. It's so funny.
I don't know what page I'm on. I got to look.
Clearly, I'm not that famous since I know exactly what page I'm on.
Oh, I don't think I'm that famous either. I just was so excited. It was like, it was thrilled.
Yeah, shout out to Chelsea Pites. She's been on the podcast. Good friend. Yeah, pretty amazing.
Yeah.
The most important question: how can I add value to you? You made time for
me every time we're in Clubhouse together, and when we text each other. I called you one day and asked you your opinion on something, and you helped me round it out in a very concise, short period of time. You add value to me already, Justin. You have since the moment I met you, and I value that more than you'll ever know. Really.
Well, I appreciate that. You got the bad phone. You can call it whenever, but you can ask my audience for anything you want right now. It has to be a selfish answer.
Oh my God.
You made time for us. So I want you to be able to point this audience wherever you want.
Go by my old house in London, take a picture and send it to me.
Send me the address. I will do that. Awesome. All right, Michele, thanks for coming on the Prime People podcast. If you're new to the podcast, make sure you hit the subscribe and notification button so you don't miss any future amazing guests. Jump in the comments and let us know the favorite thing that you learned from Michele. Tap that link, go over to her profile. And if you want to go to Florida, let me know so I can connect you with my girl down there. Thanks, Michele. I'll catch you on the next one.
Thank you.